I have a business marketing degree, yet I'm juggling two retail jobs. One pays $10 an hour, the other $25, but with fewer shifts. Even working full-time, I can't make ends meet. Some days, I struggle to afford food, even though I live with a roommate. To stretch things out, I dip into my savings, skip meals, or just drink water to feel full. This isn't just my story. It's the story of Generation Z. When young people share experiences like this online, the usual reply is predictable. Every generation has had its struggles. Gen Z just needs to work harder. But while it's true that every era brings challenges, the numbers show that this generation is facing something fundamentally different. Take housing. One renter recalled paying $280 a week not long ago. Their landlord recently increased it to $450. Even earning 3 times the minimum wage, they couldn't afford to stay. Where does that leave us in 5 years, when millions can't buy homes and rents rise hundreds of dollars each year? Surveys paint the same picture. 6 in 10 Gen Zers say they can't save for the future. Only 15% expect to afford a home within 5 years. 4 in 10 report ongoing mental health struggles, with financial stress as a key factor. So how did a generation raised to succeed fall into such distress? Are they really lazy, or is something else going on? To understand, we need context. The oldest of Gen Z are about 27 years old today. They make up around 20% of the population in the US and UK, with even higher proportions in places like Nigeria and India. Compared to millennials, they drink and smoke less, care more about social issues, and use digital tools in ways no previous generation could. But their timing couldn't be worse. They've come of age during multiple crises: the Great Recession, a global pandemic, geopolitical tension, and now the looming fear of artificial intelligence replacing jobs. Globally, the economy is slowing. Debt has exploded. Since 2008, governments have printed money to prop up growth. The result? Wages stay flat, while assets like housing soar in price. When boomers were buying homes, the cost was about 3 times the average income. For Gen Z, it's 6 to 7 times. In Sydney, it can be 14 times. In the UK, house prices are the highest compared to earnings since the 19th century. No wonder so many memes about never owning a home go viral. It hits close to reality. Across the US, home prices are rising twice as fast as incomes. A student in Canada found it cheaper to fly to class than to rent near campus. In Australia, tiny apartments sell for nearly $1 million. And yet, here's the twist. Gen Z is buying homes at a slightly higher rate than Gen X did at the same age. How? Many locked in historically low mortgage rates during 2020 to 2021, or chose remote work locations where housing was more affordable. But on a societal scale, the problem remains severe. Marriage, family planning, and financial independence are all delayed because housing has become so out of reach. For some, the solution is downsizing to prefabricated, tiny homes. For others, it's simply moving back in with parents, something that skyrocketed in countries like the US and Australia. Governments like to boast that youth unemployment is at its lowest in decades. But these statistics can be misleading. Since the 1990s, the US and other nations stopped counting people who gave up looking for work or settled for part-time jobs. When adjusted, today's real unemployment levels rival the worst years of the 1970s and early 80s. Still, Gen Z has found creative ways to adapt. By changing jobs more frequently, many are boosting wages by 30% or more. Hourly pay for those under 25 is rising faster than older age groups. But even with this progress, high inflation erodes those gains. In countries like Spain or Greece, youth unemployment remains catastrophic, above 20%. In China, millions of graduates are entering a job market that can't absorb them. So yes, Gen Z is resourceful, but the system often feels rigged against them. Perhaps the biggest enemy of this generation is inflation. After governments printed vast amounts of money during the pandemic, prices for essentials like food, rent, and fuel skyrocketed. For Gen Z, just starting out, this meant a brutal sticker shock. Even when inflation slows, prices rarely go back down. They just rise more slowly. A grocery bill that jumped 8% last year isn't suddenly cheaper today. It's permanently higher. Some economists even argue that official inflation numbers understate the reality, since governments adjust formulas to make figures appear lower. Either way, the result is the same. The cost of living climbs far faster than wages, leaving young people squeezed. This is where the stereotype comes in. Gen Z is lazy. Surveys show they're the least satisfied at work, with many embracing concepts like quiet quitting or bare minimum Monday. In China, a similar trend is called tang ping, lying flat. Older generations see this as a lack of work ethic. But Gen Z sees it differently. Why give loyalty to companies that would fire you without hesitation? Why sacrifice health for jobs that don't pay enough to buy a home? Interestingly, almost 4 in 10 Gen Zers have side hustles, showing that they're not afraid of work. They just want it on their own terms. They want flexibility, purpose, and fair compensation. Maybe they're not lazy at all. Maybe they're redefining what work should mean. Education is another heavy burden. In South Korea, nearly 70% of young adults have university degrees, the highest in the world, but many live in tiny apartments, unable to afford homes. In the US, tuition costs have soared faster than healthcare or childcare. Student debt has left millions trapped. Some surveys even found young people willing to spend a week in jail if it meant erasing their loans. This has led to a shift. Many Gen Zers are turning to trade schools, community colleges, or more practical degrees in science, technology, or healthcare. They're adapting, but debt levels are still rising faster than any other generation. Gen Z faces contradictions. Wages are rising faster than other groups, but inflation and housing costs cancel out those gains. They buy homes at slightly higher rates than millennials did, but overall affordability is worse than ever. The truth is, Gen Z isn't drowning completely. They're treading water, but it takes constant effort to stay afloat. History reminds us it could be worse. The lost generation, born in the late 1800s, endured World War I, the Great Depression, and then sent their children to World War II. Compared to them, today's youth still have opportunities, but that perspective doesn't erase the struggles of today. Despite the hardships, Gen Z has one advantage no previous generation had: access to technology, information, and global platforms. With time on their side, their entrepreneurial potential could reshape the economy. They may never accept the work till you drop culture of their parents. Instead, they might pioneer new ways of working, living, and creating wealth. Whether society supports them or dismisses them as lazy could make all the difference. Because Gen Z isn't just the future, they are the present. And the way we respond to their challenges will shape all of our tomorrows.